When it comes to anatomy, understanding faces and how to represent them in a proportionally correct way can be slightly challenging, and that is because faces have very unique bone structures that protrude in various directions, which give the face particular shapes from various angles. And in today's video, we will be breaking down the process of how to represent the face from a side profile through a few simple steps. So with that being said, hey guys, my name is Matt. Welcome to another video by artincontext.org, where we explore various art-related topics, and in today's video, we will be breaking down the fundamental process of how to draw a face from the side view. Now we will be working with some very simple materials such as pencil, pen, we will want to make sure we have some paper, and we will want to make sure we have an eraser on hand throughout the process. Now that we have all necessary drawing materials, the way in which we start the drawing process is by kind of drawing the general shape of the head. So we want to start by drawing a simple oval shape. This can be as large as you would like depending on how large you would like to make your drawing, and we can basically do this with a light sketch of our pencils. Now from there we will proceed to draw this triangular beak shape that points downward, and we want to make sure that we start from the right side of the oval and draw directly down the page, which we can then change direction and extend the line to the left side of the oval. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start creating some grid lines, and now we will proceed to basically draw in a few lines with our ruler and pencil, and we can start by drawing a vertical line that goes directly down the center of the oval space. Now the idea here is that we want to basically divide the vertical line into 6 equal rows, and from the top of the head to the bottom of the jaw we should have an even set of 6 rows and 7 lines. Now this will be determined by the size of your skull. As long as there are 6 rows and 7 lines between the top and the bottom of the head equally spread out, we should be good, but the main point should be between just above the jawline to just below the top of the head. A good suggestion is to have the first line drawn through the center of the skull, and this can be just above the bottom of the oval shape. So from there you can evenly divide the rows into 6, having kind of a center line with 3 more on either side of the horizontal line, and the upper section will be labeled A, B, and C from the top to the bottom until the center line. Then underneath the center line it will be labeled 1, 2, 3 from the top to the bottom of the jaw. Now we're going to start by drawing the nose and lips, so we can now proceed to draw the eyebrow ridge and the nose. The eyebrow ridge will be drawn kind of as a small indentation in the face, and this will be drawn directly on the center line of the face. This indentation can then extend into the nose shape, which will fall between lines 1 and 2. You can play around with how long you would like your nose to be, or how you would like the ridge of the nose to protrude, depending on what kind of characteristics you'd like to be present within your character features. However, the bottom of the nose will extend into the upper lip, which will then fall onto line number 2. So the upper and bottom lip should exist between lines 2 and 3. A single line can also be drawn in a horizontal direction, dividing the upper and the bottom lip. A rule to remember is that the upper lip is always slightly smaller than that of the bottom lip, and the bottom lip will always extend into the chin, which will then go below line number 3 and should not protrude too much. Again, it's all depending on what kind of character you're drawn from the side view. You can also apply these steps and concepts to a reference image, but you want the chin to kind of fall slightly behind or in line with the bottom lip. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the eye and eyebrows, and as we draw the eyes we can begin by placing it on the center line. Now we're obviously just drawing one eye in this instance. A good suggestion would be to draw a vertical line from the corner of the mouth directly up to the center line. Now this is where you start to see how these guidelines help you to determine the spaces and the proportions of where features should be placed and kind of the proportion they should be compared to one another. So as we continue, the eye should fall in line with the corner of the mouth and be placed on the center line. The shape of the eye could also be defined as a triangle on its side, so with the bottom of it facing towards the front of the face. From there we can simply round that flat surface and kind of create this bulging quality in terms of distinctly defining the eyeball shape. From here we can basically draw the eyebrows directly above the eye, keeping it below line C. The eye and the eyebrow should be placed between the center line and line C, and the brow can be formed how you would like. This is also kind of a subjective choice in terms of how bushy or how manicured you'd like your eyebrows to be, but above the eye and kind of remaining between the center line and line C is going to give it a proportional look. So we can now move on to drawing the ear. So the ear should be an extension of the jawline. The jawline should should extend from below line 3 and move past the vertical middle line through the skull. The top of the ear should also fall along the horizontal axis in line with the eye level, and the bottom of the ear should be between lines 1 and 2. And then lastly, this is where we can start to play around, and this is where we start to draw the hair. Again, depending on what type of character you're drawing, whether it's more masculine or feminine, you can really play around with how the hair does kind of characterize your character. But we will now continue by drawing the hair onto the head of a female profile in this case. Now, despite hair being a subjective thing, an important thing to remember is that it is not drawn inside or on top of the head. Rather, the hair should be drawn over the head and should have volume, which means we can draw it slightly above the top of the skull to suggest volume in the hair. So as you draw the hair, you can play around with different styles. You do want to make sure that you imagine that the head is being wrapped or covered from the top to the back of the head. Another important aspect to remember is that the sideburns should fall in front of the ears. So making sure that the hair does cover the head and has some volume by being drawn slightly above the skull is going to kind of create a more realistic representation of hair. But basically, once we have done that, we can start adding in some light shading. So this is where we can start utilizing our shading to emphasize these various features. So adding shading around the pupils, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Around the eyes, we do want to make sure that we add some shading underneath the eyebrows as well, because of the brow ridge casting a shadow near the eye. But then once we have done that and kind of established this drawing in some pencil, we can then refine our side profile drawing with some darker marks, and this is where we can start utilizing some pen work. So now that we have a general sketch, working with a darker medium to emphasize these various features is a really good idea. Another cool idea is to give the female profile longer lashes in the eyes. This is just a very specific thing for female characters, to feminize the eyes slightly more, and using a pen will just make the lashes darker and more vivid. We also want to simply use our pen to kind of go over all the details and the drawing in general. By doing this, we kind of emphasize the features a little bit more. Utilizing something like ballpoint pen is also going to have the same effect as a pencil, because the ink does come out quite sparingly, allowing us a lot of agency of our mark making process. So adding in some darker marks does help to define the features and makes them stand out a little bit more. Another great idea is to add some shading under the jaw. Again, this will accentuate the jawline and represent the shadow on the neck that is cast by the jaw. We can also add some shadowing underneath the ear to demonstrate the same effect near the ear. And as we do this, we'll start to see how any sort of protruding feature from the face or bone structure beneath the surface of the skin naturally is going to cause shadow formations, because it is interacting with the light source that is present. So we can also go over the hair and add some basic strokes that kind of help to define the texture and flow of the hair. We simply add in some basic strokes also to demonstrate the effect of the contrast between darker and lighter marks, especially between the darker hair and a lighter complexion on the skin in the face. So just using your time going over all the details within the face drawing to clarify and kind of refine the features that you have drawn. And by doing this, we also see how using a darker medium in tandem with something lighter like pencil can be a really great way to kind of really emphasize certain features like shadows and so on. But otherwise, guys, there you have it, a very simple and fundamental process of how to approach drawing a face from a side view or the side profile of a face. Some key things to remember: always just take your time. We also want to remember that the head is an oval from this particular side view or profile. The oval shape is more accurate and similar to that of the skull, so don't draw a circle when forming the side face drawing. Look at images for references as well. That's a really good idea. Don't worry also about perfecting it the first time. This is a resource that you can come back to. And the eye is never larger than the nose. This is a very overlooked part of drawing the face. So this common mistake can be avoided simply by remembering this simple thing. But otherwise, guys, there you have it. If you did like this video and are interested in similar or related topics in relation to anatomy or drawing any other type of body part, please do let us know in the comment section below. And you can also show your support by liking and subscribing. By doing that, you help us to grow the channel, which ultimately enables us to make more art related content for you guys, which we love to do and we love to share. But otherwise, guys, thank you again for tuning in. That is it from me. Until next time, see you in the next video. Cheers.